How's it going, guys? We are back again for the official part 1 of the Making a Horror Game series. I'm very excited, but very excited to start this off finally and get the ball rolling. But first, I wanted to kind of, say thank you to everyone so far that has been watching, and for those that'll be watching in the future. Hopefully I'm able to, continue this project and stuff and make things, or hopefully I'm able to continue on with the project and, make something that'll be kind of fun and stuff. We'll kind of see what happens, but this is mostly going to be just a concepts episode. Nothing crazy, just me kind of putting together some random images and stuff I found of a creature that I kind of wanted to put together. And really just kind of go from there and see what I can pretty much come up with. So I kind of took some inspiration and stuff from a plesiosaur kind of creature, because the actual theme of the horror game is going to be essentially, it's going to be a game that's going to take place as of right now primarily on a boat. Out in the middle of either a lake or out sea, kind of something like that. I have a vague idea of kind of how I want the story and stuff to go, but it's something that we'll have to kind of work on and stuff a little bit later on. But I wanted to use kind of a plesiosaur kind of creature as a base, and then kind of go from there. So I kind of looked up a couple random images, and then I wanted to have some kind of image or some kind of other feature and stuff to it. So we kind of ended up doing something where it's he kind of has something that's kind of similar, just hands or something like that, so he's able to kind of grip onto say the boat or something during certain scenes or during certain animations once we get to him, where he's able to kind of bring his head up. You can kind of see his hands or his kind of flippers wrap around the boat or wrap onto the boat, and then kind of go from there. A lot of this is gonna be very dependent on obviously the size of the boat, and then also on top of that the size of the creature itself, which I'm still kind of working on at the moment, and trying to figure out what exactly we're gonna do with that. So I kind of was just throwing some random stuff together. It's been a minute since I've done any sort of concept art stuff in general. So I was definitely just kind of really just fucking around and just seeing what I could kind of come up with. So this is kind of just a weird design right now that's kind of going on. Don't know for sure if that's something that's really going to stick or not. But, I wanted to kind of, like I said, throw something together and kind of see what would stick. So I was like, oh, it'd be kind of cool if you had octopus tentacles and stuff like that, and whatever else. And then I was like, I didn't like those hands, so we switched those out, and then I decided to put in axolotl kind of hands or arms, because it's a little more interesting, I guess. And I'm still used to kind of using Photoshop again for stuff like this, so it's definitely something that I need to still get kind of used to. But regardless, I think for my first time doing something like this in a while, I think it turned out kind of okay. And once we get closer to the final product of what you'll kind of see what I'm talking about. I will say this, I did end up changing out a lot of the design that we have right now, but I wanted to kind of still show off what, at least in my head, I was thinking of doing, just because it was something that was I wanted to kind of take you through just the entire process. Even if it's stuff that I ended up thinking of doing and then scrapping, I still want to kind of show off as much of that as I can, just so that way you guys get an idea of not everything's going to stick, even though you ended up doing, quite a while kind of thinking up a design, doesn't mean that it's something that's going to work out necessarily. And I kind of wanted to show that off for this portion, but we will see kind of what the final version of this ends up being. Like I said, I just kind of started throwing some random stuff together. It's nothing crazy, but it's something. I ended up trying to do more of like an alligator kind of arms and hands, just because it was or claws, I guess I should say. I don't know what the best terminology for it would be, in all honesty, but I want to do something a little more like that, because to me, I felt like that would fit more of like the theme, instead of like kind of weird little like axolotl or that other, I think it was like a stonefish or something that I had there. I don't remember exactly what kind of fish it was, but like those kinds of hands and stuff. And then I was trying to get a good angle and stuff, and I just, for the life of me, I could not get that to work at all. So that I end up messing around with this for a while, and it just was not working. So I start finally kind of just like putting the creature together a little bit more in terms of kind of sketching him out, instead of just kind of leaving him just like all slapped together like a Frankenstein monster. In terms of just random images, I wanted to actually kind of draw them out. So I found a random brush online that was like supposed to be more of like a kind of like artsy kind of brush to use, and then I ended up not really liking it towards the end of this, but I still wanted to kind of show it off, just because I was like, oh, it was a little interesting to kind of try to do, but I don't really think it worked out too well. Concept stuff has always been kind of, like I said, it's very interesting in my opinion. I've always wanted to get better at doing some sort of like concept art for creatures, just because I really like creatures in general, and I wanted to do something that was kind of fun with this, and kind of do something a little more unique. I need to get much more used to in terms of like really planning out and like figuring out like, oh, how is this creature going to work in a 3D aspect, which is definitely something I did not think about when I originally kind of started working on this specific design, which you'll kind of see later on when we kind of do a different redesign of this. You'll see that I kind of gave up a little more quickly on what this ends up eventually being, but I still want to show this off, like I said before, just to kind of show you, it's like, hey, this is cool, but it's not the direction I think I want to go with in general, but I wanted to give it a shot, and this was the first attempt at doing kind of a creature in general. So at this point, I got kind of, like I said, the majority of the design kind of finished at this point. I'm just adding like random little details. I did not like this brush that I used. I kind of do regret, kind of wasting a little bit of time just in general trying to make this brush work. But at the end of the day, you live and you learn. It's the very first concept that I did for the creature itself, and can improve the new design and stuff that we'll show off towards the end will be something that I think will just kind of work a little bit better in general. But at the end of the day, this is the first concept. Now let's see the other concept. So this one in general, I like a lot more. It's nothing crazy, but it's a little cleaner, a little more streamlined. It's going to be a lot easier in terms of modeling purposes for me to work on as well. I still tried keeping like the alligator or like the crocodile kind of like arms and claws, but just kind of thickened them up a little bit more, and as well as thickening up parts of the body to kind of fit this new concept a little bit more as well, compared to like a normal kind of plesiosaur or some of the other art that I was showing off before it from the references. And then the tail, I actually wanted to also use that of a thresher shark, because I really like the long, like kind of thin, slender tail that it has, especially moving around in the water is kind of interesting. I might go back to this at some point and show off maybe a new updated design of this one as well. But for right now, this is kind of going to be the main concept that we're going to kind of base off of. Again, I kind of went very, very basic on this, but I think overall, this is going to work a lot better for what we're going to go with, or what I'm going to go with, at least, is what I should say. But let me know in the comment section down below what you think of this creature, and let's move on to the boat. So here's the little reference boat that I ended up using. It was actually from a YouTuber, YBS Youngbloods, and it's actually somebody that I've watched a few times in the past. I've enjoyed their videos, and I found a really nice, just like kind of side view of his boat, and I wanted to kind of use that as a little bit more of like a reference point. We do end up changing and modifying a lot of it, but I thought it was at least a good kind of starting point for what I wanted to kind of go with. Because I wanted to go with kind of a boat that was a little bit more like kind of streamlined in general, but also one that as a base I could modify, and if I needed to, make longer, or just in general a little bit bigger. So we do end up doing that a little bit more down the road here, but right now I'm just kind of blocking out everything and kind of getting some general just kind of shape of it at the moment. I don't do anything like crazy concept-wise right now for the boat or anything like that. That's stuff that I can always kind of do a little bit later, but I thought this would at least be a good starting point and kind of give me something to work on for the modeling portion of things. And if I want to make adjustments, I can always make them on the model itself if needed. But yeah, it's a lot of just little tweaks and stuff that we're going to do to this boat in general, and kind of making some things work, and seeing where we can go from there. So I do end up in general extending out kind of like the little cabin area, just to have a little bit more of like a rest area for the main character and stuff to be in when needed, or to like possibly work on the boat, or like other kinds of little things that we may or may not be doing. I have a couple ideas in general just in my head about, you know, maybe like either little mini games or something else that'll kind of help extend a little bit more of the actual time and stuff playing the game itself, whether that be fishing or something else. I've been kind of throwing around the idea in my head, at least, of you possibly getting a tip on like a very, very good, you know, fishing and exploration spot out like to sea on like kind of maybe a secluded little kind of like peninsula, like island area, and you going out and kind of exploring that, doing some fishing, stuff like that. And then you come across obviously the creature, something that maybe that was rumored and stuff to be in the area. It's stuff that I'm still kind of working on story wise. I'm sure we'll do an episode where I kind of do a quick rundown of the story and kind of go from there, but it's at least things that have been kind of in my head at the moment, and I wanted to kind of let you guys know about what I'm thinking and kind of going from there. But I extended out the boat a lot more because I wanted to be a little bigger, especially if the creature that we end up doing is going to be of a decent size. I want to be able to have a boat that would be able to handle, at least I think would be able to handle the creature kind of like either bashing into it or possibly grabbing onto it. So it's kind of stuff like that I'm trying to be a little bit more conscious about. And at the end of the day, things are always subject to change, like how we change a lot of the creature design in general. The boat's always, something that I could change down the road. But this at least gives me a very good starting point as to maybe this is what it's going to end up being, or it's going to be something similar to this at the very, end of like our modeling and stuff for 3D modeling of the actual boat itself. So we'll see kind of what ends up happening, but I thought just making it bigger and stuff in general would add a little bit more to it, and it gives me a little bit more room to also make the boat kind of almost feel a lot more lived in as well. Not have like a super clean look to it, like the boat that I use as a reference kind of looks very clean. I want this one to be a little bit more, I don't know if rugged's the best word, but like lived in maybe is a better word to kind of use. So we're kind of going to go with that kind of concept and stuff at some point with it. But yeah, with that being said, we're just about done with, you know, kind of showing off the rest of the what I had for the concept. But I wanted to again quickly say thank you to everyone that is watching the series so far and supporting it. And you know, a big way to support it would be to subscribe to see more. Let me know in the comment section down below what you've thought so far of what we've done, and you know, let me know if you're excited to kind of see some more stuff. I'm hoping to get into some bigger things later down the road for the series, but right now I think we're off to a good start. And with that being said, I hope everyone has a great rest of their day and see you all in the next video. Peace.